It's I'm back. Jason Fulmore here, SE Wrestle. Today I'm here with JT Gosnell. Hey JT, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We are talking because there is a big event occurring at your school in what, 2 days?
2 days, Friday. Yep.
Friday, and it is going to be, or it is the first girls dual quad. It'll be a quad.
Well, it's an individual tournament.
Oh, it's an
So
individual tournament.
it is. It's an IBT, but we're only allowed to have four teams because of the best practices guidelines. So we only have four teams, but we are running round robin brackets with the weight classes, and we're going to have about 35 to 40 girls or so
Awesome.
out there wrestling. So yeah.
All right, so before we get to that and how we got to that, let's go back in time because both you and I are on the task force to try to get girls sanctioned here in the state of Alabama. And it's been quite a process to get to this point. So I'm not 100% sure how many people or what people know in terms of kind of that process. So about a year ago, would you say? The wheels started kind of getting moving. Sally Roberts came on board, Julie Lasser, who's at Daphne. A bunch of different people kind of came together. And what was kind of your guys' first step? Because I wasn't there at the very beginning.
Well, I didn't come on at the very beginning, but I think they started getting together, especially Julie with Sally Roberts and some of the people with Wrestle Like a Girl. And they started putting together information for a lot of coaches. And Julie knew me because I'd been a coach at a rival school, and so she got me on board relatively early, but not right at the very beginning. And I'm a big fan of getting girls wrestling. I have a little girl who loves wrestling, and hopefully in 10 years or so she'll be on the mat. But yeah, so for me when I came in, it was really more about the logistics of running a tournament and how do we make this happen. And I came in right around February, March, somewhere in there, which was about the time that all of the surveys went out to all the schools. And so the key as far as AHSA goes, I mean, they're actually very little hoops to jump through with AHSA. They make it really easy. They send a survey out to every school asking what sports you're going to participate in. And if 40 schools indicate that they'll participate in girls wrestling, then we'll sanction girls wrestling.
And we came up just short of that number,
Yes,
right?
Right, correct. Yes, we're a little bit short, but they did. Once again, I mean, just to kind of help us grow the sport and increase interest, they did sanction a minimum of 3 individual girls tournaments, including an unofficial girls state championship that will happen this year, which is great. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that this year, I mean, I know for sure I had 5 girls on the team last year at WS Neal, and I had the most of anybody in the state. This year, I have 9 girls on the team, so I've doubled in size. Thompson has 17 girls on their team.
Right.
So, I mean, the numbers across the state of Alabama have at least doubled, if not tripled, at this point. I mean, just on, hey, you're going to have your own tournament, you're going to get to wrestle other girls, and you're going to get to call yourself a state champion. Like, with that right there, we tripled our numbers.
So, have you heard from like any coaches that kind of reached out and said, like, okay, so I've got girls and they want to wrestle other girls, and kind of begin that process, or like any new coaches? Because we know the coaches who kind of have been around in terms of kind of being advocates of this of girls wrestling. Are we going to move towards or beyond that 40 mark here in the next year? Do you think?
Well, it's an every 2-year process.
Oh,
because
okay.
they sanction sports on 2 years. So I really think that in the next reclassification in 2022 that we'll be over that 40 mark and the girls wrestling will be sanctioned.
So
yeah, I think a lot of schools are interested, at the very least, of having a couple of girls. Hey, we have a couple of really tough girls in our school that we think they'd be good at wrestling, and can we have them on our team? And the answer right now is yes. They can be on the team. They can practice with the boys, and then they still get opportunities to wrestle just against other girls.
So you got these 3 tournaments, and yours is the first one coming up
Yes.
this Friday, which is a big deal because I know that this is kind of getting that ball rolling and everything else in terms of of letting them have the opportunity to wrestle other girls and things like that. Because right now it's kind of a hit or miss if you're at a duel or if you're at something and it's kind of exhibition. So,
Exactly.
so who are the four teams? It's you and
So the four
Thompson.
teams:
Yeah.
Thompson, Daphne, Northside Methodist, and then WS Neal. So you have some different parts of the state. Northside Methodist is out of Dothan. Daphne is the Gulf Coast. WS Neal is in Bruton, which is in Escambia County. So we're basically directly north of Pensacola, but we're still in Alabama. And then Thompson is up in Alabaster in the Birmingham area. So you've got people from kind of all across the state coming together. We only have four teams because of HSA's best practice. I mean, this has been a difficult year with the COVID-19 pandemic, and
Right.
and initially this tournament was going to be held 2 weeks ago at Mobile Civic Center along with Gulf Coast Clash, and that tournament was canceled for the year because of the pandemic. So it's been different, but I'm really glad that we're getting to have it, and so that's really exciting, and I'm glad that Thompson was willing to drive down, because it's about a 3-hour drive for them. Daphne's driving an hour and a half. Dothan's driving 2 hours. I mean, so everybody is putting in a lot of miles to make this happen.
Very cool. So you spoke about the COVID restrictions and some of the challenges that are associated with it that obviously are facing the boys teams and everything else. But when you're trying to get the girls up off the ground and get participation out and things like that, it's even more of a challenge. So
Absolutely.
After your guys' tournament, do we know when the next one will be?
So the next one was scheduled to be the last weekend in December at St. John Paul II in Huntsville. I don't know if that is still going on right now because of the pandemic, or what form that'll take. But that was the next scheduled one. And then the third one was scheduled at Thompson. Well, Thompson is hosting, but at the Birmingham Crossplex on the day after the state duels finish up on Friday.
Okay.
But
we're still in a wait and see as far as those go.
Yes, I think so. And they could, you may see tournaments get rescheduled to January, and it could be more than 3 tournaments. Just because, if we get an opportunity to host another tournament in January, we would host a girls tournament. Especially if restrictions were lifted and we were allowed to have more than 4 teams. If the pandemic was to get under control and infections stopped going up and things like that.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. I told our team and our parents, whatever we have to do to have a season. I mean, obviously I would prefer to have a traditional season to be able to do what we normally do, but if we have to stay within 4 teams to have a season, whatever we have to do to have a season.
I'm 100% with you. Right.
If we're able to wrestle, I'm here for it. That's,
So talk a little bit real quick about the excitement that kind of your girls, you've got several returners?
So, we do. We actually we have one senior who's returning, and she's really excited. She's actually depressed now because she's been quarantined because she was. She's not going to be wrestling. So unfortunately, but the girls that are there are really excited, and she's excited for them. She's excited to be able to hit the mat and get her first crack at an all women's tournament. But unfortunately, with all the school restrictions, if you're exposed to anybody who has COVID-19, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks and stuff.
Sure. And that's just the way it works, and that's what we're dealing with at the moment.
Unfortunately, as much as it stinks for that individual wrestler, it's about the safety of all the kids and about the sport and having a season, and so that's just part of it. We have a handful of kids quarantined. I'm sure most coaches throughout the state would say they have at least 1 or 2 that are quarantined. It is what it is.
So if as we wrap this up, so I'm going to be down there, but I believe it's being streamed on Matt Byrne. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that's right. Matt Byrne is going to be streaming the event, so people can watch it on Matt Byrne. I'm not really familiar with how that works.
I think it's YouTube, but I'll try to tweet something out as soon as I find out exactly kind of how that everything's going to work and everything else. But that way, if anyone's interested in tuning in to watch it on Friday, it'll start Friday afternoon, right?
Yes, Friday afternoon. We're going to try to get started about 4:30.
Okay.
Just with the nature of this tournament, with small number of teams, we may have to combine some weight classes, and so that may take a little bit of extra time. But we should be able to get started by 5, I would think. at the latest.
And it'll be streamed on Matt Byrne, and pretty historic event in Alabama, which is fantastic. And we'll continue to move forward as the pandemic kind of allows us to, both with the girls and with the guys this season.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure.
I hope everything goes off without a hitch, and we'll be back on the mat, with the girls. I don't know, maybe late December again after this one.
They'll be on the mat as much as they can be. I hope we can have another girls tournament, late December, early January. But even if we can, I mean, the girls are going to be wrestling, and our kids here at Neal are really excited just about the opportunity. And I talk to them all the time about gratitude and just being grateful for the chances that we have. And none of us know what's going to happen tomorrow. We can only control what we can control. Be grateful for the opportunities that we have, and let's go take advantage of it. So we're excited. We're looking forward to it. We're happy that we're being allowed to wrestle this weekend. So.